everyone. I wanted to make this little video for you and share this art journal that I have. It's actually more than an art journal. It is something that I've been working in for a year, and it's not tidy or neat. It is not filled with highly rendered artwork. It is a place where I kind of plant seeds, if you will, and do a lot of experimentation. So when I'm working in the studio and I get ideas, or I have paint on my palette, or I have some cool paper, or I tear something out of another sketchbook, I start adding it to this, and I keep adding and covering up and layering, and it's like those moments when you get a little idea and I want to capture it. So then I go back to this and I look at it. I make a lot of notes in here, little scribbles, little messy drawings. And it is a place where I feel like it's this working journal where I can capture everything. It's not really a place where I practice. It is more about being in that moment. So when I'm working in the studio and I get a spark of an idea, or I look at something and it leads me to something else, I am writing everything down, because it's, it's like when you plant a seed, you want to kind of cultivate and collect these ideas and allow them to kind of germinate in your journal. So the reason I don't usually share this with people, and the reason I'm doing it, is to kind of show you that it is messy. It is exactly what I need to make the work, make the classes that I make. So I'm going to flip the camera around and give you a little tour of my book. Okay, so first of all, these are so beautiful, aren't they? They're called Butterfly Ranunculus. I just love them. They're so beautiful. I've never seen them before, and I thought they were perfect for my workbench. So I often save like little postcards that I get at different places and put them in my journal too, if I feel like there's something that I love. And this I thought was really beautiful. I got that at a restaurant in New York City, and I just thought it was so beautiful, and the colors, and so I wanted to keep that. So this is just a sketchbook, and it's one, I like this brand, this company, and it's called Handbook. I get them on Amazon, and it's got a really nice drawing paper in it. It is not like a mixed media journal with heavy duty paper. It's kind of like a Strathmore weight paper. So the first thing I have, and quite often I will tear out magazine articles, and I have this that I pulled out of Artist Magazine, and it's about Degas, and I find this interesting, and it reminds me to think about composition and value and how he studied and how he worked and used things. And so it kind of like studying the masters, I always want to be reminded to go to them, to look at how they approach their work, because I think there's a lot of great information in how they approach things. And okay, so I'm just going to flip through this. So you can see I have some messy notes that I caught in the minute, like I want to remember these things, and it was about small studies, and this was a little study I had done while I was playing around with paint colors. And so then I did more, and this actually ended up being in a class that I created, these little small studies. And so this was from another class, and I was playing with texture, and I wrote down everything that I was using, thinking, feeling about this. And even though I didn't like it, there was some value in here. And so not everything in here I like. And then I didn't love this color palette, but I love, this is to remind me of the marks and some of the space, or just things in here that I find interesting that I can go back to. And if I'm stuck in a painting or a drawing, I can always come back, and I wrote down everything that I was thinking about that, and I think this too. And here I made some leaf prints. So exciting, I know. Okay, more notes and some notes, and then I had some paint left over my palette, and I try to not be wasteful with my paint. So I will just take I have a whole box of little pieces of paper that I've cut from different sketch pads, And I pulled it out and I put it on there, and then I squeezed some pink paint out and some green, and I made this wonky little flower, which I actually kind of like. Okay, so I went to another sketchbook because I started thinking about these flowers that I was absolutely in love with when I went to Italy. And there was all these irises that were in the most gorgeous colors. So I did a series of drawing them very quickly. And this was from the flower farm as well. And then I had drawings under here. If you can see them, there's a drawing under there. And I didn't like that drawing, but I liked some of the line work. So when I refer back to this, I am going to think about, I know that I need to warm up. When I draw, I need to be free with my lines, and that's kind of reminding me to go back and look at these lines and think about that. And I like how some of this is connecting to this. And I think there's some interesting elements in this. So if you have like a page in your journal that you don't love, go back to another drawing you like and put it on top and kind of recreate that idea of drawing. All right, so some more drawings. Okay, so this is photographs that I took for a class. And then this is from a painting that I did. I really did not like the painting. It didn't feel successful to me. So I cut it up, and I do that quite often. I will take my ruler and lay it down and just start tearing out. And then I have these little compositions. And so these two in particular stood out to me. I like how they look. I like the way the paint movement, I like the marks. They could be like a large size abstract. So when you're working on something, if you've labored over a painting or you have something in a sketchbook that you don't love, cut it apart and look for other possibilities. So you're planting seeds here. Like this gives me a lot of ideas, and I want to explore that. So when I come into the studio and I think, I don't know what to paint, I don't know what to do, which happens a lot, then I can just kind of go through this because I keep working in this one book. And that's just a flower that I had done. I kind of like the colors. I want to be reminded of that, but there's some interesting line work and layers of paint. Like I really love how this wet and wet technique worked. And some just little quick compositions that I made and making notes about them, capturing an idea. And I didn't like these, but I wrote about it. I had leftover green paint. I just put on some tape and slathered it on there. And I took this flower, which I think I did this for a class too, but I wanted to be reminded so I can go back and look at my other paintings and see elements within there that I like, color palettes, I can take it and look at it in a way that can create a new composition. So there's a lot of information in your old work too. So this page, I had captured some different alleyways when I was in Italy, but they were from pictures I took on my phone. I don't take this big book with me. So I was doing quick little compositional sketches and just kind of embracing right after I got back from my trip, just the things that I felt. And this is from the flower farm. This was a statue and a landscape from Italy. Okay, in this page spread, I had quickly sketched out this flower in charcoal, and then I had this on my work table and this piece of canvas. I love the color, and I love the color of this paper, and I think that there could potentially be something. I like the words, and it could be the beginnings of like a floral abstract. I don't know for sure, but I like how I feel when I look at that. I think it's really energized and exciting. So some more messy little compositions. Okay, so this, I had a big brush and some ink, and I had a big piece of paper, and I was just playing around with ink, and I really loved how this came out, and it ended up being a part of a class that I created. And I usually don't create big, bold movements like that, and I really like it. So I wanted to keep this to remind me, and it did end up in a class, and it may end up in a piece of art someday. And this was a photograph of a little flower I had painted so many years ago. And this was from a paint swatch from the the hardware store. And I like how this little square looks in this black. This was wrapping paper from a package that I received. But I like this. I feel like it's the start of something. And these were just little compositional sketches. I was probably talking on the phone, making these little notes. So once again, I like this idea of this little square in this big void. So this was a master, one of the Dutch masters, I can't remember who it was. And I just think it's just beautiful and how he really creates the movement, and the colors are just gorgeous. So I just did a quick study of it. And I was working on a color palette, and this page, I really like it. I like the freedom of this flower. It's big and messy, but it started out, if you can see under here, it was a sketch. It was like all kinds of scribbles. And so I put a piece of tape down because I really like this little part, and I painted over it. So I have to get stuck to that. And so I wrote down all of my mixes on here, and then I had all the paint on the palette. So I just started making a flower, and there you have it. So I kind of like that. I think it could lead to something. And then I like to take photographs and print them out. And I want to remind myself that I love these irises. I love the movement, and I want to get back into drawing them and just see. I feel like this is pulling in a certain way, and that's what I put in this book. And I write down these notes. So I wanted to make sure I captured. This is a reminder. So you can take something from your phone that you like. It doesn't have to be your drawings. It could be a study, and just print it out in your printer. And here's another, so you can see I'm into the irises. I don't know why, but for some reason they're talking to me. All right, I'll just keep going through. Here's another little mini painting. I love this. This happened all individually, and I just had this piece of canvas that I used for a class, and then I added stitching. Here's another flower painting that I cut up, and I like the way it's just taped down here. Like I can turn it and get different arrangements. And I love this flower. And this is kind of a reminder of texture. I think this all is inspiring to me for something. Okay, so I was playing in my studio. This was just play. And as I was mixing paint up, I had these beautiful buds, these blooms in my studio. And I made these little collages. And this is just kind of on a piece of old paper that was ripped, and I added to it. And I think that there's something here. There was a drawing underneath. You can see where the old charcoal, I think I wiped it away with a baby wipe. And then I just put some cream paint over it and quickly drew, then painted, and then just added some collage paper. I have a little box of paper on my workbench. Just some more flowers. This is another big messy flower, which I think there's some potential here. I think it's actually kind of exciting. And so I'm gonna keep referring back to that. I like the composition of that. I like this movement. I was just doing this very fast. I wasn't agonizing over it, which I do that quite often. I'll agonize over something like, I have to make art. So this was just very free, and I just kept playing with it and pushing paint around, and it was really fun to do. I kind of like that. And so there's just some more little messy pages, something very ugly. I don't even know what that is. And so here's pictures from the flower farm of the irises, color swatch. I love this. And so I have a few drawings within this book that I love the line work, I love the energy, and this one has all these sections that are like tributaries almost, and I think it's kind of cool. And so it could lead to something. I'm ready for it to lead to something. All right, so this I pulled out of a magazine, another drawing that I like. I feel like it has some really interesting elements in it. And even if it's just one part of it, I like how that feels. All right, so this was a study of the masters that I did for a demo, I think last year. and it was Raphael, and I did it twice here, and then I just had some ink left over and I did a little swatch, which I really like that, and I like how this and this feel. All right, and there's another one of those pictures that I took from my phone of a collection of artwork, and then Rembrandt, because we love them. All right, just some writing and some more crazy flowers. This is, you can see, it's just a big mess, but this is to kind of remind me, like I'm working, I just start drawing, and I'm not worrying about making something specific. I was just kind of warming up and studying a flower over and over and turning it, and it's okay, because some in the beginning I used to be like, oh, they're smearing, I gotta pretend. I'm not worried about that anymore. I just need to capture that moment. Some more notes about what I was thinking about. So this I really love because it's from this photograph that I took when I was in Italy. We were going on this hike up to a chapel, and we went through this tiny town, and there was the Virgin Mary, and she had this beautiful halo of stars, and the back was a building that had hand laid this beautiful aqua mosaic tile, and then all around the bottom were these beautiful white blossoms. And so I just felt it was so beautiful, that little moment there, and I captured it. So I felt that, and I just wanted to sketch it, and I just did it because I thought it was beautiful. So you can see I'm working out ideas here, things that were successful, not so successful, but it's okay, because then I may come back in and add paint over this, but the history is there. There's a history to all the pages, and that history will come through in the artwork. So this one I'm tearing up. I had painted a flower, I tore it up in little strips and kind of created something. I think I did this last year, sometime during a Facebook Live, I can't quite remember. And okay, so I had done a little doodle here, but then I tore this out of a magazine, and the reason why is I love this beautiful brown black, and how it glows here. I think it's some kind of wood doorway. And I love the blue and the hydrangea and the different variations of greens, and then the creamy color. So I think that's a beautiful color palette. And I think that's it. All right, so that's my little art studio diary where I keep everything in, and I'm going to keep working in this, and I think there's a lot of potential here. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I want to encourage you to find a journal, something that you have in your studio already. Don't get something new. If you have big, or if you have a square, it doesn't matter. It can even be a small one. It doesn't matter at all. And what's important is just to start adding things. So you plant those seeds, you collect those ideas, and you keep adding more and more. And one thing is going to lead to the next, and it's going to lead to the next. All right, have a great day. Thanks for being here.